That's our guy, Doug Gottlieb. What's up, Coach? Good to see you, man.
Good to be seen. Looks like we got a little cold front heading through this weekend.
Yeah.
Reminds
Well,
me
let
of
me guess. You're going to be out in a tree stand. You're going to be out in a tree stand deer hunting. That's so your jam.
I would love that, man. I'd love to get a win Friday and have one of my guys here in Green Bay go, "Hey, man, let's go shoot a live animal." But
I know a guy. If you're looking, I know one.
do you?
Me too.
Do you? I don't want to sit up there, Trevor. I don't want to sit up there and not see anything. Like that's the
dude.
worst.
Mm-hmm.
And
Right.
when you have ADHD as I do, right? And you got a million things, and like you'll put your phone in your pocket, be like, all right, I'm not gonna look at my phone. I'm just gonna enjoy nature. Which is kind of it's the weird thing about hunting, right? You're like, I'm gonna enjoy nature, and then I'm gonna blow one of nature's creatures to smithereens. But anyway, regardless, the issue with me is it's like I don't go to fish. I want to catch, or at least something's got to bite on that pole. And I like to hunt. I'll go hunt, but I want to see something, with a white tail that I can shoot. That would be cool.
That would be cool. And that's not always a guarantee. That's why they call it hunting and not shopping. All right, man, take us to Kansas. So you started the season, you got whooped, but let's be honest, you knew that was coming. And so would you help us real quick explain, and not to say that you didn't know it was coming in terms of getting whooped. I'm just saying you don't go into Kansas at number 19 and really believe you're going to walk out of there with a W unless something completely changed. There's a reason GB goes to Kansas, Doug. What is it? Because you wouldn't. Why?
Well, I mean, I think there's a myriad of reasons. First is, again, I wholeheartedly believe that if we played the way we were trying to coach them to play, I think we would have been competitive in the game and had a chance to win the game.
Mm-hmm.
You do it because it's the opposite of St. Norbert. St. Norbert, because they're a Division III program, they're younger this year. We played them as an exhibition game. But remember, Division threes don't have summer. They just started hooping a couple weeks ago, right? So they get everybody's confidence up, and we didn't want to kill everybody's confidence, but it exposes all, like, hey, all the things we've been telling you that are coming, like, this is what it looks like. If you think your way works, it doesn't, because now you're playing against players that are better than you. And how can you make up for sometimes an athletic mismatch? Well, it's with your brain and by playing together. So that's the challenge. I mean, look, you go there for a paycheck. Because
Pause there for a second. I mentioned that on the radio yesterday. I think that was news to a lot of people.
Really?
That a school like Green Bay goes to Kansas and gets paid for going there. And we're not talking arbitration numbers. This is a big check.
Yeah, 110,000. So
that's worth it.
Which is why, and I'll just be honest, like Coach Gardner has been great this year, and because of one of our other opponents that we're contractually obligated to play. We couldn't get the dates worked out in terms of playing in Madison, but it's one of the things that I'm glad he's playing Milwaukee, because I just like, why are we sharing UW money with anybody outside the state?
Good call.
I think us and Milwaukee should play the Badgers every year. They're playing right around New Year's, right before the Panthers play us. So so that's the nature of how it works. And when you I'm glad you brought it up and that people didn't know, but you have to make a decision. Are you going to go get paid, or are you going to, we're not yet at the level financially where we can buy somebody to come in here. Generally, the thought is when you buy somebody to come play, you're guaranteeing money and usually a win. That's why it's very, very rare when you win those games. Friday we're getting bought again. We're playing at Buffalo, a lesser number than Kansas, but it's the same thing. It's hard to get people to come to Green Bay to play. Next year this year we have 3 non-conference home games. Next year my goal is 5, and if I can get 6, even better. But we're going to have to play more bye games next year in order to get there. So it's why the league, it's like Robert Morris won our league, right? So last night they went to Iowa and played, and I think they probably got 110 as well. And like the insult to injury is, our conference player of the year plays for Iowa. So he had to play against his old team first. It's just so weird. But so what we went and played there, one, because you want to give the kids a chance to experience what college basketball is really
absolutely.
like. And
Absolutely.
that's what it's like. You also want to test yourself because it shows you. It's like a pressure chamber, right? And it's a test. It shows you all the leaks and cracks, before you really go to market and play teams at your level. It can be a
True.
really good thing. And it's like, oh, okay, all those things because we can't replicate that speed, that athleticism, their ability to switch and still contain us. Well, we can't. For me, I loved it because. Um, you get to coach against one of the five best college basketball coaches on earth, and you get to learn why does that work. Same thing happened last year when we played against Drake. It's like, hey, why are they so good? Last year they played so slow. This year they're playing fast. And again, these are lessons that you learn.
Yeah.
And then, I want the experience for the program and the promotion of the program because they're Kansas. Everybody that score scrolls on every bottom line and you get more
Exposure.
media coverage. And I'm not afraid of putting my kids out there and showing who they are and if we're not there as a program, where we need to grow.
Doug, I like to talk to you about some comparisons between what you guys go through at the college level and what's happening elsewhere. And we talked when you joined us last time about kind of the way that you have to coach and you have to figure all this out. And now you're talking about getting paid to go play these other schools and the travel. Giannis and the Bucks have also been going through some difficult things in their own right and in their own league. And the big narrative there has been about him not getting calls. And as a coach, we heard Doc Rivers complain, like straight up just say to the media, like, yeah, well, first call the foul because they're not doing that. As a coach yourself, how difficult is it to not just blurt that out and get angry because I'm sure he got fined.
He does.
But also to watch a star player like Giannis not get those calls.
Well, if I had Giannis, I would not be in this predicament. Okay, let's just
Sure, yeah.
These are first world problems, and I'm in the third world right now. Okay,
Yeah.
but here's what I will tell you. Look, last year, I mean, there's a gentleman named Donnie who works at our conference office, and like I'm not a complainer. I'm just not. I don't voice complaints. I don't think it's healthy or it goes to a negative place. But what you're supposed to do is, hey, you get some calls that you don't like, you clip them. We had about five absolute robberies last year to where you're just like, what, did I say something? Is it something I said about your football team 15 years ago that you're mad about? Is it because we're Green Bay? Every coach like hypothesizes, well, the league doesn't want us to win because we're at the bottom of the league. And if we win, it looks bad for the league. Like, I don't think it runs that deep. I just think there's a percentage of people that aren't competent at their job. And, when we share officials with the Big Ten, the MAC, and us, and we're Green Bay and we're at the bottom of the league, we're going to get the bottom of the league refs. And that's what the bottom of the league refs look like. It's a lot like when I was an AAU coach and you'd get bad refs. The kids would all come over and parents would all be mad after the game. And I was like, it's 11 o'clock on a Sunday. If they were any good, they would have reffed a college or a high school game last night and not needed the 25 a game, to come on over. So, like, what did you think you were going to get in a seventh grade platinum AAU
Sure.
semifinal game, right? So my expectations. Now, the NBA, obviously, it's a very, very different animal. And it's this dance that you do where they want to protect the best players, but the best players have all become foul merchants, like all of them. And so there are nights in which those guys don't get calls that they get all the time, and it creates this unreal sense of what are we calling? And like, look, let's be honest. Giannis is a gigantic human being, so he's naturally going to draw, and he initiates contact. So he's a very hard player to officiate, right? It's like, okay, we're going to call that. You want to call every foul? Let's call every travel on Giannis. Let's do it. Like, let's do it. You're like, well, that's different. No, it's not. Violation is violation. A foul is a foul. We're going to call them all. So without seeing it, I can't tell you. But like, here's an example. We played Kansas. They 40 pieced us, right? If you watch the film, Trevor. I'll clip them. I'll send you. I'll send you six calls. Six
Deal.
calls, which you're like,
Wow.
did you need to absolutely make a BS call up against Green Bay? Did you need to do that? Like, really? Did you need to call a ball that's blatantly out of bounds on the Jayhawks, call it out on us, and then stare me down like I'm out of my mind. Like, wait, what? One of the officials, you'll love this. One of the officials, I said, hey, so they were switching every ball screen. So, at our level, we like that because we have some guys that we can expose the five. We try and attack a 5-man out in space. Their 5-man, Flory Badunga, is a phenomenal athlete, and he's one of the few guys that can switch onto 5. And he did a good job of defending some of our guys. But one of the things he did, and guys do, is when you drive, he puts his hands on you for just a second, which slows you down. That's why they don't allow hand checking. Slows you down and allows a center to cover a point guard. So I'm like, hey, every time we drive, Badunga puts his hands on us and slows us down. I said, can you look at it at halftime? He's like, no. I'm like, what? No, I'm not looking at that blank at halftime. Coach your team. I was like, wait, what? Like I could not have been more respectful. Like, hey, can you just check it out? Because at halftime, they sit in there and they look at a little tape and they talk amongst themselves and they do their little thing. And like, I'm not begging for calls, just like look at it at halftime and it'll allow us to attack switches better. And he's like, no. So the point is that it's like after the game, I can't go in there after getting 40 piece and go like, hey, it should have been probably 25 because there's like 6 complete crap calls, right? That sounds stupid. Yeah. So you got to pick and choose your spots. The great thing about Doc is everybody likes him. He obviously won a championship with the Celtics. And it's that cat and mouse game that all these NBA coaches do where they're protecting their guys. Like a lot of times you're doing it not to get calls, but so that Giannis thinks you have his back. That's really what it's more about.
Sure. Doug Gottlieb, the head coach of Green Bay men's basketball and the host of a national radio show called The Doug Gottlieb Show on Fox Sports Radio every afternoon. Doug, we have 5 minutes before we gotta let you go.
Okay.
I say that because this might be a long-winded answer for you.
Yeah.
This year, you've got a full offseason under your belt, and last year under your belt, where a lot of people had a lot of questions about you doing 2 full-time jobs.
Yeah.
You learned a thing or two last year.
Yeah.
What did you learn, and how are you going to make sure that those two don't come up in conversation as much this year?
Which one wouldn't come up in conversation? What do you mean?
There's a lot of people that are wondering how you're doing 2 full-time jobs. And last year, the wins weren't there, and that made it even that much more in the forefront. This year, you've had an entire offseason. You've got a whole roster of players that you brought in, and you're still doing the radio show.
I guess it's a fair question. It's really interesting, right? Like, how many people when I go speak to we have 2 optimist clubs in Green Bay, by the way. How optimistic is our city? It's our fair city. I love that, right? But I've gone to speak to both the optimist clubs, and I'll always have a guy pull me aside and go, hey man, I've had 2 jobs my whole life, like this is it's a grind.
You have to. I get it.
Right. Like how many people, and like again, just so you know, like I've really had 3 or 4 jobs my entire broadcasting career. So yes, I do a radio show. There's lots of coaches that do radio shows, podcasts. Dion has done a TV show. Jim Balvano did a TV show. Al McGuire was never at practice when they won a national championship.
So, but why do you think you get the business when it comes to this? Like people are on you.
Two reasons. Probably 3. One is I've been in the media for 25 years, and now social media exists. So you have people who have no idea about and have never watched us play a game, right? All you got to do is like watch us play a game, and are we competently coached? Yes. That's what I believe. Maybe we didn't look at the other night, and I'll take ownership of it, but it's not because we haven't taught them what to do. It's the brain lock of it. I would say it's because I've been in the media, and because social media exists, where you can have people that have no real understanding of things, putting out things into the, and like, look, my shtick, if you will, during my time in the media has been like, I'm just going to call it like I see it. And especially when I landed in college basketball, when I started in college basketball broadcasting nationally, it was like 2002. And then I started really more on ESPN. I got there in 2003, but I started doing college basketball, like studio stuff, 2004, and then into 2005. That was still the Dick Vitale era. And, Coach Vitale's, oh, it's awesome. It's fantastic. Let me tell you about Greg Gard and Mike Krzyzewski and Roy. Everybody was great. So when you come in and you're just like, hey, this is good and this is not so good, and it sounds super negative, right? It does. When everything has been positive, positive, positive in a sport, and you're the guy who comes and goes, hey, this is all good, but this one thing could really be fixed. You sound like the most negative human being on earth because of the landscape of where broadcasting was. So that's how I was positioned. And if anybody thinks that's shtick, that they're allowed to. My point would be like I'm just kind of trying to be the honest broker, and I think I was a little bit ahead of where media went to, and that was simply because that's true to who I am as a person. It's true to who real sports people are, and I also think that I was trying to be sort of a breath of fresh air where I didn't kiss everybody's ass when I got into the media to cover basketball. I think college basketball especially. So I think that factors in, and then we didn't win. And nobody cares about Anthony breaking his ankle, about Marcus getting hurt, when we're up 2 at Providence. Nobody cares about Preston Rudiger getting a concussion when we're up 13 against Michigan Tech or academic probate. Like, nobody cares about those things. They just say, hey, somebody's down. Let's kick the crap out of them. And because that's fun for them. Okay, it's fine. Just let me know when we get this thing going, where you are. It's really easy to keep those internet receipts. So what's changed? A lot of things. I'm really good about my time. We have set meeting times, set practice times. I've hired an older, more experienced staff. I've also condensed my staff where, I had a couple of guys last year that were around the staff, who I thought I could mold into coaches, and they were great, but it was too many voices and too much chatter and not enough work being done. I have my own personal assistant now, so things are much more seamless I don't have to set up my radio stuff. I don't have to, just kind of a machine with going from thing to thing to thing to thing to thing to thing, right? And if the other part to it, and this is probably the last part to it, is most people, just like people don't know that we got paid $110,000 to go take an L at Kansas. Most people have zero idea what a college basketball coach does the rest of their day. None.
Fair. And
None.
you're the hammer. You get to decide. I get that.
Well, it's not,
all right, buddy, we got to go.
Not just that, but like what's Greg Gard doing when they're not at practice?
Watching a lot of Law and Order SVU.
Like, seriously,
marathon.
What is, like, I would love, give me the timeline of what you're doing. So again, carve out 3 hours out of his day, and I'll show you my day. My day's jam-packed, right? Today was a rare one where I didn't have a coffee with a donor or with anybody in town. I went to Bahava and got coffee. I met with my staff already. They're preparing something. We have practice already planned out. We got film that they're cutting out. There's a couple things I want to see in practice. We're going to change some of our lineup stuff. Okay, and then when I get done with you, they're going to come back in. We're going to line out practice. We'll be done at 9. The team is lifting at 9 o'clock. At 9:45, they'll be done. At 10 o'clock, we'll show them personnel from Buffalo. At 10:15, we'll get out there. By 10:30, we'll be warmed up. By 12:30, we'll be done with practice. And by 1 o'clock, I'll be recording my pod. By 4 o'clock, I'll be done. I have meetings lined up with 4 or 5 of my players. And then I'll have dinner and drinks tonight with 2 different donors tonight. So here, my answer is I do a lot. I have 2 jobs. I love both jobs. I'm not giving either one up. And I think I can fulfill them competently. But I also say, like, track what anybody else is doing because there's dead time. And it sucks. It sucks I don't have my kids here with me, but I have 2 in college. I got 1 in high school. He lives in Oklahoma. So I don't have the normal things that normal human beings have. I'm respectful of that. I don't have that here. So what do I do instead? The work. That's it.
It's working. Doug Gottlieb, the head coach of UW Green Bay men's basketball, joins us. We got to go, Doug, but here's the text. I hope the Doug interviews happen weekly. This is awesome. Well, stay tuned. We're working on it.
We can just say we're going to do a weekly interview. Okay, but next time I get to interview you guys. That's what I
do. Great. What could go wrong?
Perfect.
Hey, Doug, got to go. Happy Wednesday, buddy.
Thanks, Doug.
Happy Wednesday. See you guys.